Bulldogs to 4-1, and Tennessee is also keeping pace. So a big game for the rivalry, a big game in the conference. I'm joined by Terry Donahue. And Coach, when we talk about the Florida Gators coming off an off week, the big news during the break was the quarterback. Who would it be? Well, it will be Doug Johnson, but you get the feeling that Steve Spurrier isn't very happy about his offense.
Well, Steve Spurrier is very upset with his offensive team. He's been on a rampage since the loss down at LSU. He's publicly criticized himself, his coaches, his wide receivers, made changes in the offensive line, and he's alerted everybody that you better play better or you're going to be on the bench. He has reinstated Doug Johnson, his outstanding quarterback who had a one-week suspension, but he's told everyone that Doug Johnson, if you make too many mistakes with the ball, I'll make a change there as well.
And like the Florida Gators, the Georgia Bulldogs have a balanced offense, and Coach Jim Donnan says it's very important today for his quarterback, Mike Bobo, to play well.
Well, Mike Bobo did not play well last week, and he must today against the Gators. Florida plays a tight man-to-man pass defense. There's not a lot of room to complete passes. Bobo's got to be careful with the ball. He's done an outstanding job avoiding interceptions this year. If he can do it today, the offense can play well. The Georgia defense, though, has to step up. They have an outstanding player in Champ Bailey, maybe one of the best players in the conference. He's going to be locked on to Jaquez Green, the tremendous wide receiver from Florida. That's going to be a matchup you got to watch.
It should be fun to watch. Down on the field, here's Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Sean and Terry, Florida linebacker Mike Peterson has talked trash about almost every opponent he's faced this season, and Georgia was no exception. About running back Robert Edwards, he said, they say he runs it down everyone's throat. I want him to run at me. We want to destroy hopes. And on Mike Bobo being one of the SEC's best quarterbacks, Peterson said they're all top quarterbacks until they come play us. Now, Peterson has backed up his talk pretty well this season, and ironically, the only time he didn't talk was before the LSU game, which Florida lost. Also, one injury update. Florida defensive tackle Ed Chester returns this week after arthroscopic knee surgery. He will not start, but look for him to play more and more as he gains confidence on that right knee. Guys?
He lost 14 pounds while he was sitting out recovering from the knee surgery. Spectacular day here in North Florida, 75 degrees at kickoff after an all-day rain yesterday. There is the chance of showers early this evening, perhaps before the game ends, but no sign of any clouds at the moment. Georgia won the toss and will receive. Robbie Stevenson kicks off. And it's returnable for Hines Ward, the senior from Rex, Georgia. He found a couple of seams and is trying to get outside. Stevenson, the kicker, in pursuit. Hines Ward into Florida territory with the opening kickoff. Out of bounds at the 47-yard line, knocked out by Ron Brady. A 50-yard kickoff return.
Hines Ward may be the most versatile player in college football today. He plays wide receiver, quarterback, running back, returns kicks. Here he finds a crease in the coverage that Florida has, and he does a lot of it on his own. And a tremendous big play for Georgia to get off on a great start.
And they could use a confidence boost to begin the game. They've been throttled by the Gators in recent years. Last year they lost 47-7. Ward looking to throw off the reverse, and it is overthrown. Corey Allen had pulled up at about the 22-yard line, and the pass was long. Fred Weary had the coverage. Jim Donnan into the bag of tricks early. Mike Bobo has completely turned around his touchdown and interception numbers from a year ago. Last year he threw 16 interceptions. This season a league low 2. He's a senior from Thomasville, Georgia. Not far from the Florida border near Tallahassee. Jim Donnan, his second year as Georgia coach, looking to end this Florida winning streak over the Bulldogs. On 2nd and 10, Robert Edwards down to the 44 for a gain of 3. Now the rest of the Georgia offensive starters. Edwards opens in the backfield with Patrick Pass. Larry Brown is the tight end with Hines Ward and Corey Allen the wideouts. And a solid offensive line. Matt Stinchcomb, Steve Herndon, Brad Stafford, Antonio Fleming, and Chris Terry, a Jacksonville native at right tackle for the Georgia Bulldogs. 3rd down and 7. Edwards, the lone back, lined up to the right of Bobo. Out of the shotgun. Bobo Lofts it deep, looking for Corey Allen. Jump ball, and it is intercepted on a deflection. Picked off by Tony George.
You've got great coverage on this particular play by Fred Weary, number 24 of Florida. He can really lock on to Corey Allen, number 80. Mike Bobo, actually the wide receivers covered. Bobo throws it up. Corey Allen does a great job of leaping for the ball. It came behind him, and Tony George, number 1, with the interception. But in terms of field position, it's a good punt. If you look at it like that, it was third down. It's like not converting and punting the ball dead inside the 10 for Georgia.
Second interception of the season for Tony George. And on first down for Florida, Paul Snellings made the tackle on Fred Taylor, the leading ball carrier in the Southeastern Conference. Doug Johnson hasn't played in a game in 3 weeks since the LSU loss, the only loss of the season for Florida, a game in which he threw 4 interceptions. A couple of nights before that game, he violated the team curfew. Wasn't discovered that he had done that until after the LSU game, so he was suspended for the last game against Auburn 2 weeks ago. Taylor stopped by Greg Bright, Georgia's leading tackler, at the 13-yard line. Brandon Tolbert also in on the stop on Taylor. And it'll be third down for the Gators. Just underway and no score. The 5th different offensive line for Florida, providing holes and hopes for this group. Taylor and Frazier in the backfield, with Kinney, the tight end. And there is the 5th different offensive line to start a game this season, because Pat Browning is a first-time starter this year. He's moved in a tackle for the Gators. Doug Johnson in trouble, throws, and it is incomplete. Intended for Aaron Kinney and broken up by Glenn Ford, so the Gators will have to punt from their own 13-yard line.
Sean, it's really important that Georgia gets off to a good start. One of the things that Florida loves to do is dominate a game early with their offensive team. Get you way behind, and all of a sudden you get behind and the pressure starts to mount. The Georgia defensive series here is excellent. 3 downs and out. That creates confidence on the sideline. Jim Donnan and his coaches can get over there and say, hey guys, we can play with Florida.
Robbie Stevenson kicking with the breeze here in the first quarter. We got a rush from Champ Bailey, but it's a good punt and a fair catch called for and made by Michael Greer back at the 38-yard line. 58-yard punt and no return. Each team has had the ball once without scoring.
Scoreless here in Jacksonville, where Florida linebacker Johnny Rutledge suddenly took ill on the Florida bench. He had food poisoning on Monday, did not practice Tuesday, and he was fine all day today until this. They rehydrated him, and they hope to get him back in. Back now to Sean and Terry.
As we saw, he's on the bench at the moment. Movement along the right end of the offensive line. Chris Terry came out of his stance. He's a converted defensive tackle, playing
false start on the offense, 5-yard penalty.
Offensive tackle this season, and that's been a key move for the Georgia offense this season.
Well, Chris Terry's an interesting story. He gained 200 pounds since arriving at Georgia, when he did arrive as a defensive player. As you mentioned, Sean, he's a very agile player. He's a great pass blocker, has a big old wingspan on him, and he's really grown into being an offensive tackle.
Mike Bobo on 1st and 15 throws, and a great catch made by Larry Brown. Bobo looks a little shaky early, not exactly zipping the ball with great confidence. Brown was wide open, but had to make an acrobatic catch for a gain out to the 44-yard line.
Mike Bobo is one of the real keys to this offense today. Jim Donnan told us earlier in the week he's got to play well. He does a good job of getting rid of the ball. The ball's high, but sometimes you got to be saved by your receivers. In that case, the receiver steps up and makes the play.
See, Bobo's gone out as a wideout now, and Hines Ward is in at quarterback. They want to run some option today. LSU had success in its win against Florida with the option, and Florida didn't seem surprised at all by that. Darrell Owens, seeing time at linebacker with the illness of Rutledge, dropped that play for no gain. It'll be third down and 6.
Watch the middle linebacker. He comes from that area of the screen. Middle linebackers are to stay free. Linemen keep them free so they can make plays. Darrell Owens, 56, makes a perfect play for a middle linebacker.
There's a redshirt freshman from Jackson, Mississippi. Bob Stoops, the defensive coordinator, says he has a great feel for the game. Now Bobo back at quarterback. They're going to have Ward throw again. Man open. Brown, the tight end, rumbling into Florida territory with a first down at the 29-yard line. Tico Brown, the safety, made the tackle.
Jim Donnan getting into the bag of tricks early. Sometimes you want to watch the tight end. He comes across the formation here. They fake the reverse, and all of a sudden Hines Ward pulls the ball down from the reverse and hits the wide open tight end. The secondary from Florida has supported. He's just wide open in that seam. Larry Brown, number 87, with the reception.
Jim Donnan told us they haven't been throwing much to the tight end lately. They wanted to get back to the tight end today, and they have a couple of early catches for Larry Brown. Olandis Gary down to the 27-yard line, a short gain. Here's the Florida defense, outstanding up front with Willie Rogers, Mike Moten, Reggie McGrew, and Willie Cohen. Johnny Rutledge not feeling well at the moment. Dwayne Thomas and Mike Peterson, the linebacking core. Elijah Williams, Tony George, Tico Brown, and Fred Weary comprising one of the best secondaries in the nation.
Well, you have to like the way George has come out and really been aggressive. Kickoff return, reverse pass.
Robert Edwards, nice cut inside, still going. Touchdown!
Sometimes offensive tackles don't get enough credit. Watch Matt Stinchcomb. He buries his man, and Olandis Gary, 22, goes in there and makes a great block from the fullback position. Robert Edwards walks in there untouched. A huge start for the Georgia Bulldogs.
And the extra point is barely good by Hap Hines. A 27-yard touchdown run for Robert Edwards. 7-0 Bulldogs.
You're buying a car. You know exactly which cars you want and which cars you don't want. But there are still cars out there that you don't know that you do want. Recently, Oldsmobile has come out with so many new models, they might not be on your list yet. They should be. So before you buy, find out all you can. Come to Oldsmobile's 100th anniversary premiere and test one. Or call toll-free to find out.
Reaching your financial goals can be a complex balancing act. At the Principal Financial Group, you will find the strength of our investment performance is your 401k retirement advantage. You'll find our flexibility will meet your insurance needs. And you'll find the balance of choice and quality you need in health coverage. For over 100 years, the Principal has made the complex simple. That's how we give you an edge. The Principal.
Jim Donnan runs the sweep on that play to Edwards. Watch the fullback right here. He makes a key block on the linebacker. You can't run offense to an open end side if you don't get good blocking by the front and by those backs. Edwards, the leading rusher at Georgia, this guy's been hampered by injuries. The last 4 games, he's finally been healthy. He adds a whole new dimension to the Georgia offensive attack.
And Bobby Stoops giving his defense a lecture. The squib kick is a free ball at the 37-yard line. Mark Johnson's kickoff right along the ground. It bounced up and struck Tim Beauchamp, one of the up men for Florida. And the Gators got it back. Fortunately for Florida, looked like Dwayne Thomas came up with the ball. He and Thaddeus Bullard were at the bottom of the pile. It might have been Bullard.